Morning, everybody. Welcome to the latest SMG Viewers Comments video where I take a look at some of your questions and comments. Got a little different one to start with this time. It's a video question. I think, gotta say, this is really cool. If you guys want to send me video questions, I approve. Just please try and keep them under a minute long because you don't need to take 3 minutes to get to a point. Just ask me a question straight up. The shorter, the better. Anyway, here goes.
Do you think you need to be some kind of band member for the time, meaning that you have, to understand the music, understand the concept, and actually go down the path with the other people of the band and maybe propose some stuff?
Being an engineer or producer playing an instrument certainly can't hurt, in my opinion anyway. I mean, you look at Bob Rock, one of the greatest metal producers ever. He played guitar in the payolas for years on end before he even started producing. At least I think that's how it went anyway. But, he had all that experience to draw on and went on, did the Black Album and sold millions and that kind of thing. Frederick Nordstrom's plays guitar as well, one of my favorite producers. Chris Tsangarides, again, one of my favorite producers, I believe plays guitar as well. So having a little musical background certainly can't hurt. I'm not saying it's mission impossible if you don't play to produce bands, but like I said, it can't hurt. So if you want to record bands, pick up a guitar. Even if you play as badly as I do, it can certainly help, at least when it comes to helping a guitar player develop his technique, picking out ringing strings and all that kind of shit.
Glenn, you don't own any Gibson or Fender?
It's not to say I wouldn't like to. I would really like to get my hands on the classic Gibson Flying V, the red one with the white pickguard like KK Downing used to play in the 80s. And I think one of the guys in the King Diamond band played that. I think those guitars are sexy as hell. I would absolutely love one of those. Other than that, I'm not a huge Gibson fan. I can't see myself owning an SG or a Les Paul anytime soon. And Fenders, I think, are just too wimpy for the kind of metal I play, to be honest with you. You don't see too many guys running on stage playing, 7-string drop A on Fenders.
Hey Glenn, what is mastering? How is it done? What makes it so that a record can be recorded and mixed in one studio and then mastered from stereo tapes or digital in another? Does a stereo mix really offer any control over the final product?
To put it the simplest way I can, mastering makes sure that the perceived volume level from song to song on an EP or a full-length CD or whatnot is the same. That's essentially it. A mastering engineer is going to make sure all of your songs seem to be, the same loudness. And yes, they can affect your stereo mix, but they're also going to put like an EQ curve on it or that sort of thing. If you go to an actual mastering house, chances are they're going to have a lot better gear than you, and they're going to have much, much better acoustics than you, so they can really hear what's going on in your mix and give it any necessary EQ tweaks. So that's kind of a big thing in my opinion. And that mastering engineers have a very, very good set of ears. And that's what they do, they look for flaws and look for ways to cover for those flaws. Some mastering engineers, like my buddy Phil Demetrio, he'll take stems, you can take, give him like guitars and drums and vocals, and he'll finish off a mix for you as well. So there you go. So in my opinion, going to a seasoned mastering engineer like my good friend Phil Demetrio at Lacquer Channel in Toronto, or Mao or Applebaum, who I got to work with when we did Queensryche, those guys are just absolutely amazing at what they do. And if you've got a top level project that you really want to just push it over the edge, go see those guys.
Okay, Glenn, I'll suggest you a video idea. Is democracy a good solution for a band? No leader, majority decides. If not, how to decide who's the leader of a band?
There's no real solution to that one. There's no real set rule. Every band situation is different. Every band dynamic is different. But I'll use two bands from the 60s for an example. Now, CCR, Creedence Clearwater Revival, started out as a dictatorship. John Fogerty wrote all the songs, he called the shots, they did that, and they sold millions of records. And it wasn't until later on that the rest of the band started saying, well, we want to have input, we want to say what goes on, we want to help write the songs, that kind of thing. And the last album that they did was completely democratized, and that was called Mardi Gras, and it was the worst pile of shit they ever put out, and the band folded slightly thereafter. So generally, if you've got a really talented guy in the band who's a really amazing songwriter, you know what? Yeah, maybe it's a good idea that he calls the shots. Then again, maybe he's an idiot too. Who knows? Another band from the 60s did things a little bit differently, was the Doors. They voted... They were a democracy, but they would only do things unanimously. The band had to be in complete agreement or they wouldn't do it. That way nobody felt left out, which I thought is a good way to do it. But it's also very important that the band is around, that the band members are there to contribute. There was a big issue there with Light My Fire winding up in a Buick commercial, and Jim Morrison was not happy about it. But maybe if Jim Morrison had actually showed up to band functions, he would have had a say. So there you go. Like I said, there's no real rule when it comes to democracy in bands. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I like the unanimous thing myself.
Yo, Glenn, would an overdrive pedal help with the clarity issues that the Spider 2 has?
Nope, you can't polish a turd. Okay, guys, I just want to take a minute here and talk about the sponsor for this episode, DistroKid. This is a way for bands to get their stuff online to all these different music platforms. I'm talking Google Play, iTunes, Spotify, you name it. There's like even 150 plus small music distribution channels that they will put your music out on. It's $20 a year, and that's it. They don't take a cut of anything else. So whatever you sell, you keep 100% of your sales. For $20, that's a pretty freaking good deal. A lot of you guys have asked me for a copy of The Eagle Has Landed. That's my theme song. I'm actually using DistroKid to put that up right now. So that will be available on iTunes and Spotify and Amazon Music and Google Play and all these different sources. So if you're already subscribed to that, you should see The Eagle Has Landed up online in the next few hours to the next couple of days. So yeah, check it out. If you're in a band, check out DistroKid. You can check the link in the bottom of the screen, and there's a 10% discount off that $20 yearly subscription fee. Like I said, take a look at it. I'm using it. I think it's fantastic. Hopefully it'll work for you guys too. It certainly takes a lot of the hassle out of putting your music online onto so many platforms.
A Pod HD in your studio, brought by a bass player, I think.
That's going to be the subject of an upcoming Fearless Gear review. One of you guys was nice enough to send me some patches, so I've been able to load those up. And I'm going to be honest, I'm going to give the thing a fair shake. You know, I'm not going to say right out of the gate it's shit or it's great. Let's take a listen to it. Let's see what I can get out of it. I've heard from a lot of you guys that that thing is quite a capable unit. It needs a bit of tweaking. We'll take a look. But I am looking forward to doing that review.
Do you do any videos that show how DAW work or mix editing techniques at all?
I've got a few basic things. If you look up how to record heavy guitar, you know, there's some general ideas for treating heavy guitar tracks and whatnot. I'm going to be doing the series How to Mix Heavy Drums, and eventually I would like to do some full-on metal mixing tutorials, but I think that's going to be further on down the line. Hopefully sometime down the road, if I have full Patreon funding and can do this for a living, I can do much deeper mix tutorials. I would really love to do that. So check out my Patreon and give me a hand, and let's make that a reality, because I want to teach you guys how I do things.
Hey Glenn, love the show. Do you ever turn away artists because talent is, well, not there, or the arrangement is very poorly done and they don't want to change it? If meeting in the middle is an option, do you make an awful CD and keep it on the download, or tell them sorry you can't do it?
I'll make some suggestions. Yeah, I mean, some people want suggestions. Some people you can't tell anything to. So you really just have to have kind of a light touch and just be able to figure out who wants your input and who doesn't. I generally don't try and fuck with people's music too much. When it comes to maybe writing vocal melodies or harmonies or that kind of thing, I'll help out, that kind of thing. But for the most part, I always try and take a hands-off approach with people's music, because that's their thing. I'm more about getting good performances out of people than anything. But if I hear a cool idea in my head, I might suggest it, and if they say no, I'm like, well, let's try it and listen to it. You tell me after. You know, most of the time, I'll get approval for it. So, I don't know. Generally, recording's a collaborative process, and if a musician's got a closed mind, maybe you shouldn't take the project on to begin with. I've had a pretty good relationship with most of the people I've worked with, except for the bass players I've thrown out of the studio. And singers who cut the mic.
Glenn was nice. The fuck happened, Glenn? This isn't what I want to see. Not one bass player joke.
Sorry to let you down, man. Here's a bass player joke for you. What do you do when your bass player's stumbling through your jam space, screaming and bleeding all over the place? Stop laughing so hard and take better aim.
Hello, Glenn. Can you tell me what you think of the Ibanez Soundgear basses? Do you think they're okay for recording?
Yeah, I've had an Ibanez Soundgear 5-string for years. I think I got that back in like 2001, 2002. And yeah, that's been a fantastic bass. It wasn't exactly cheap. It wasn't a cheap, an El Cheapo model. This thing was about $1,000 bass. But it's been a great tool. You know, it stays in tune, sounds great. It's got active pickups, the EQ, the whole deal. You know, basses are kind of strange in that way, because I've got a $200 Fender Mexican Jazz that just sounds fantastic. I use it on everything. So dollar value doesn't really translate to quality too much, as far as in my experience with bass guitars. Anyway, just pick something up, and if you like how it feels, you like the way it sounds, work with it. As long as it stays in tune.